As Mark entered the house, familiar yet unwelcome sounds greeted him. He didn't care why he had come home early. He was just there. He pushed open the door without hesitation. "Mark, it's not what it looks like," Emma began. "Don't." Mark cut her off coldly. Stepping forward, he made Greg recoil instinctively. Without warning, Mark grabbed the man's thinning hair and yanked him back. "I want to ruin you," he said quietly, locking eyes with him. "Lift your chin. You can't hit me. I'll sue." Greg hissed, trying to sound bold despite his fear. "Try me," Mark replied calmly. "Now, lift your chin." Though grimacing, Greg raised his head, assuming he could take the blow. Mark grinned darkly before pounding his fist into him several times. "Mark, what did you do?" Emma gasped, horrified. Mark glanced at her, his voice steady and dangerous. "I'll deal with you later. Right now, I need to leave before I do the same to you." He walked past her without another word, ignoring her desperate pleas. Mark never yelled when angry. His low voice was far more unsettling. "Mark, do you even know who he is?" Emma asked, panic in her voice. Mark stopped briefly. "I told him, and now I'll tell you. Do you think I care? How could you do this in our bed?" Ignoring her cries to talk, Mark left the house, got in his truck, and drove to the liquor store. He bought bourbon, parked at Walmart, and drank straight from the bottle, watching traffic go by. His phone buzzed repeatedly, but he ignored the calls and messages until finally he answered. "Mark? Where are you? Come home. We need to talk." "It's over," Mark said flatly. "You mean Daniel? He woke up furious, threatened you, and stormed out," Emma explained. "Good to know. Did you enjoy him again?" he asked sarcastically. "No, Mark. How could you even ask me that?" "Never mind. I don't care. You're being cruel. Maybe because I married someone who betrayed me. Don't call again." He hung up and returned to his bourbon. The next morning, Mark woke stiff from sleeping in his truck. It was 7:30 a.m., and he needed coffee and a bathroom. He bought jeans and a shirt at Walmart, changed in his truck, and headed to work. At his office, he found dozens of messages from Emma. Before he could settle in, Steve entered, waving a hand dramatically. "Man, what's with the smell? Are you drinking bourbon or bathing in it?" "Rough day. Worst night," Mark muttered. "Emma trouble?" Steve asked. "Showing up smelling like this won't help." "Screw Emma," Mark replied bluntly. "You never pulled that kind of stunt, right?" "You're kidding, right?" Steve said. "I wouldn't be here if I had." He hesitated. "What happened?" "Got home early and found her in bed with him. Didn't need a second look." He flexed his bruised hand. "Someone from her law firm?" Steve asked, lowering his voice. "Yeah, and now he's threatening me. That bald bastard isn't done yet." "You should have wrecked him completely. At least then it'd be a crime of passion," Steve said softly. "Now it looks premeditated. You're in a bad spot." Mark's voice cracked slightly. "I loved her. I gave her everything. Why wasn't it enough?" A tear slipped down his cheek. "Have you asked her why?" "No, I don't want to know." He sighed. "Screw this. I need to get away." "You're leaving?" Steve asked, alarmed. "We built this place from nothing. Don't give up now. I can't buy you out. We'll figure it out. I'm getting on my boat today. I'll call you when I get there." "Where are you going?" "Not sure yet. Just keep paying my salary, and we'll sort things out later. I'll keep working on designs remotely." Mark gathered his things, stopped by the bank to open a new account, and left a note for Steve before driving to the marina. The dock buzzed with activity as he reached his boat, a 33-foot Grady White with a roomy cabin and twin Yamaha 350 engines. It was fast, with a 560-gallon fuel tank to cover long distances. He leaned back in the captain's seat, calculating his route: Virginia Beach, Charleston, Jacksonville, Cape Canaveral, Fort Lauderdale, and Nassau. At a few hundred miles per day, he hoped to reach Nassau in a week or two, weather permitting. A Gulf storm could delay him, but he hoped it would head north. Planning his route distracted him from the pain. He needed to leave before anyone could find him. Once at sea, he'd be alone with his thoughts and the dangers of solo travel. When his phone rang again, he ignored it, letting it go to voicemail. Emma's message read, "You have to talk to me. Don't walk away from us." Us, he thought bitterly. Did she think of us when she slept with that guy? The phone buzzed again. "Mark, where are you? I've been worried sick." "It doesn't matter," he muttered. "I want answers, but what's the point now?" His mind drifted to the school event, the moment he should have trusted his instincts instead of his heart. Now he was paying the price. Meanwhile, Emma sat at her desk, staring at a photo of Mark, tanned and grinning with a freshly caught fish. He had always loved fishing and traveling for work. Though she had joined him on trips a few times, she hated the remote places he went, small towns like Mountain Home, Arkansas, and Monroeville, Alabama. The last time she traveled with him was in the oil fields of Guatemala, where she had been miserable the entire time. She knew she complained too much, but couldn't seem to stop herself. Emma knew she was a complainer. While Mark worked in the scorching heat, she grumbled. When he returned, drained from long hours, she dragged him to social events. Though he preferred she didn't work, she wanted to stay occupied. After earning her law degree, she settled for a paralegal role. She thrived on the energy of big cases, loving the fast pace and excitement of legal work. One day, a junior partner called her into his office. Confident in her looks and personality, she knew she was seen as a valuable asset. "Emma, we've got a high-profile land deal fast-tracked for city approval. It'll take overtime. Interested?" "Sure. Where is it?" "Maryland, near D.C. The zoning's set. We just need city approval. Think you can help?" Sounds like fun. She didn't know how it started. Late nights in the office led to casual dinners, which escalated into fancy restaurants, and eventually nights out at clubs. Dancing felt liberating. Mark was always away for work, returning only on Fridays. She knew the dance with Daniel crossed a line, but the attention thrilled her. Giving him a little push wouldn't hurt, right? Then it happened. "Daniel, no. We're married, just not to each other." "Come on, Emma. You wanted this too." Meanwhile, Mark monitored the weather, planning his trip to Virginia Beach. After refueling, he aimed to reach Charleston, bypassing Oregon Bay. He did a quick grocery run before leaving the marina, glancing one last time at his truck, feeling like he was leaving an old friend behind. As he set the autopilot and tethered the boat to the guest dock, his phone buzzed incessantly. 54 texts, 30 emails, and 5 calls, all from Emma. He sighed, knowing he couldn't avoid it forever. "Mark, please. You have to listen. It didn't mean anything. You're talking about our marriage. It meant everything. When did it start? Come home. We need to talk." "I'm not coming back. You won't find me." "You left town? Where are you?" "Gone. You tore my heart out." His voice cracked. "Screw you, Emma. Don't call me again. I'm dead to you." "Mark, please don't go. Don't leave me. Goodbye. Have a nice life." He ended the call, ignoring her sobs. Daniel waited outside in his car. "Let's go, Emma. Mark's gone, and Barb's not expecting me." Stunned, she followed him. On the ride home, anxiety gnawed at her. Anger flared as she questioned why Mark was always away, either on the road or fishing. She told herself it would only happen once, and Mark would never find out. Later, back in bed, she woke up around 11 a.m. "Daniel, no. We can't do this again. Come on, Emma. You liked it." "Shut up, Daniel. This won't happen again. Now that I've had you, I don't know if I can work with you without wanting more. This could affect your job." Tears welled up in her eyes. "What would it take to make this stop? I love my husband. He'd destroy us if he found out." "One more time. Then I'll think about it," Daniel said smugly. She gave in, cursing herself afterward. "Mark, what did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough for you?" she whispered, tears falling. Mark decided to wait out an incoming storm instead of braving rough seas. He bought a folding chair and sat by the dock, watching people pass by. Despite the distractions, his thoughts kept circling back to Emma and Daniel, memories of her betrayal cutting into him. His mind drifted back to the first time he saw her at the student center. She was laughing, her hair catching the light, her ice-blue eyes sparkling. She smiled at him, and he blushed, thinking she was out of his league. As he gathered his things, their eyes met, and she greeted him warmly. "Hi." "Hi," he mumbled, embarrassed. She's so cute, he thought nervously. A few nights later, he saw her at a frat party. The keg was full, and people crowded the space. She approached him. Hey, I saw you at Gull's Nest, right? Yeah, I think so. Why didn't you say hello? I did. I just didn't stay. Thought you wouldn't be interested, he admitted, blushing again. You don't talk much, do you? Not really. You're making this hard, she teased, flipping her hair and laughing. He was mesmerized by her laugh and knew he'd do anything to hear it more. You're very direct, he said, smiling. It's an art. Mark smiled nervously, thinking, she's out of my league. I should leave before this goes badly. I should go. I have a test tomorrow. Wait, what are you studying? Engineering. Thermodynamics exam tomorrow. I have no idea what that is, she said, grinning. It's about applying rules creatively, he explained. She smiled, listening intently. Here's the thing, he added awkwardly. Across the room, you're a 9, maybe a 9.5 if you're smiling, and a 10 when you laugh. I'm a 5, maybe a 6 on a good day. She laughed. Come on, you don't believe that. I do. Date someone 2 levels above you, and the lower one suffers. He smiled sadly. You'd stop smiling, stop laughing, and eventually realize you deserve better. Then I'd be heartbroken. We should skip to the end to avoid all that. You're crazy, she said, laughing again. In his mind, they'd already had a relationship and parted as friends. But now, as he sat by the dock, he realized life was rarely that neat. Have a good day. Have a happy life, Mark whispered in Emma's ear. Goodbye, my love, he added, before walking away. She stood frozen, watching him vanish into the night. She tried to follow but couldn't catch up. 2 days later, he was reading in the student center when she approached, accompanied by a bubbly blonde. Hi, Mindy. This is my ex, Emma said lightly. We were happily married until he lost confidence and left. Hi, ex, Mindy greeted. Hi, Mindy. He doesn't even know your name since you weren't really married. We might as well have been. So, what's your name? If I'm going to pine for a lost love, I should know it. Mark. Emma, she said, shaking his hand. Despite her firm grip, her hands felt soft. They ended up talking until night fell, noticing only then that Mindy had quietly left. Thanks for the time, Emma. Have a good weekend. I'll be looking for you, Mark. If you asked me out, I'd probably say yes. Emma, you're a 10. I'm a 5. That won't work. Looks aren't everything. Besides, you're definitely not a 5. You're smart, sweet, and in my eyes, closer to a 10. Don't sell yourself short. You're tall, muscular but not overly so, and you've got a beautiful face. Why do I scare you? She asked, noticing his deep brown eyes. When you laugh, my heart feels lighter. Your smile makes my knees weak. Even when you talk about boring subjects, I hang on every word. I'd do anything to keep hearing you laugh. She laughed, and he smiled thoughtfully. You don't share your problems, but always care about others. That's irresistible. I'm scared you'll break my heart one day, and it'll be my fault. Did you just say you love me? Yes, but I have to go now. See you later. As he walked away, Emma called after him. Mark, wait. Please don't make me beg. Just meet me for dinner tomorrow. He hesitated before shaking his head. I have a test Thursday morning. How about Thursday night? I can't Thursday, but Friday works. Sure. Meet me here at 6. She kissed him briefly and ran off, leaving him stunned. He noticed the guy next to him laughing softly. You're done, kid. She won, the guy teased. Mark leaned back, knowing it was true. The rain outside wouldn't stop. Feeling cold, he went into the cabin, crawled into bed, and let the tears mix with the sound of the storm. He missed her more than he wanted to admit and silently vowed never to make the same mistake again. Morning came, and sunlight streamed in through the cabin windows. He made scrambled eggs, sitting at the small table as thoughts of Emma continued to haunt him. A glance at his phone revealed messages from his sons, Luca and Ethan. He hated that they were being dragged into this mess. Luca, who had just graduated and started working as an intern, had called to say he didn't need the monthly payments anymore. He wanted to be independent. Ethan, the younger of the two, was a scholar working on his doctorate. He shared Mark's love for the sea and often joked about studying ocean engineering despite knowing that everything rusts in salt water. The thought brought a rare smile to Mark's face. He returned Ethan's call first. "Hey, Ethan, I saw you called." "Hey, Pops, where've you been?" "Mom's losing it." "I'm on vacation, traveling." "Dad, what's going on?" "Mom's going crazy." "You don't need to know, buddy. Just understand that I need to get away for a bit." "She wants to know where you are." "If I tell you, you'll tell her." "Stay out of it, please." "Dad, what did you do?" "Nothing. I just need some space." "We'll talk soon. If you need anything, call me. Leave a message if I don't pick up." "Are you on a boat? Did you sail north or south?" "Yes, I'm sailing. North or south?" "I have to go. Love you, Ethan." "Love you too, Dad." Luca's call went as expected. "Dad, where are you? What did you do?" "Mom's been calling me every hour. She's hysterical." "I didn't do anything. Go home." "You're acting like a child." "Luca, don't take sides until you know the whole story. I'm going away for a while. We'll talk." "If you won't tell me what happened, stay out of it," Luca snapped. Mark's temper flared. "I'll say it again. Don't take sides until you understand everything. Then you can decide." "Mom thinks you have a girlfriend." "I'm traveling for work. She can keep the house, the clothes, and the car." "No girlfriend, never." "Don't call me Luca." "Don't call me Luca," the boy retorted angrily. "It's Luke." "You're acting like Luca," Mark said, frustrated. "Let's not do this again anytime soon. I have to go." "Fine." Mark hung up, feeling drained. He'd always had a strong relationship with both boys, but Luke had grown close to Emma and tended to take her side. Ethan was more patient, but Luca would be quick to judge. Mark hated how things had turned out, but there was no fixing it right now. A quick weather check showed good sailing conditions between Virginia Beach and Wilmington, North Carolina. He had 3 days of calm seas before the next weather system arrived. If all went well, he could reach St. Augustine before the storm, then rest before continuing to Palm Beach. It was going to be a long journey, but he welcomed the distraction. After setting up the fishing lines, he followed the channel across the bay and hit the open sea. South, definitely south. With autopilot engaged, he let the boat take him forward as memories spun in his head. Laura's voice came to mind. "She says you're the best thing in her life." "Laura, we had dinner twice, saw a movie, had a picnic, and went to a barbecue. We kissed a couple of times." "That's it," Mark had told her. He had met Laura at a barbecue. She was another perky blonde, one of Emma's sorority sisters. Emma had given Laura his number. "I know, but she says it was the best night of her life," Laura had teased. "She's good for you. Just make a move." "Are you kidding? What is this, high school?" "She wants more than just the occasional Saturday," Mark said, raising an eyebrow. "I know, but she said it was the best night of her life." "She's really into you, Mark." "Just call her," Laura insisted. "Why me? She's got guys lined up for miles." "Because you're good-looking, funny, and apparently a great kisser," Laura teased. "Seriously, she's been miserable since you stopped calling. Just make a move." Mark chuckled. "I'll call her, but only if we're doing something serious." "Please do." "She's been moping, thinking you're not interested." "Does she know phones work both ways?" "She could have called me." Laura gave him a mock glare. "You know how it is, just call her." That evening, Mark went to the sorority house. Emma was waiting on the front steps, her hands clasped nervously. "Hi, Mark," she greeted as he approached. "Hi, Emma." Laura, standing nearby, smirked. "Don't be late, dear," she teased before running upstairs, leaving the two alone. "Can we talk?" Emma asked quietly. "Sure. Here?" "No, let's walk." Too many eyes around. They walked across campus and found a quiet bench under the trees. Emma took a deep breath. "Mark, do you even like me? Am I attractive to you?" "We've covered this. Of course, I like you. And yes, you're beautiful. That's the problem. Every guy wants you. I'm not interested in competing for your attention." Emma looked hurt but determined. "I don't want anyone else, Mark. Just you." "Then why were you holding hands with that guy at Bogart's last week?" "He's just a friend." It didn't mean anything. Mark sighed. I need trust, Emma. Once that's gone, there's no coming back. I swear, Mark. I'll never break your trust again. I'll end things with anyone who thinks we're more than friends. Mark hesitated but nodded. Okay. So, are we official now? Emma smiled. Yes. Thank you, Mark. They spent hours walking and talking. When Emma twisted her ankle crossing the road, Mark caught her before she fell. Crap, that hurts, she muttered, wincing. Mark knelt and gently removed her shoe. It's not swollen. Can you walk? Emma shook her head. Not really. Without hesitation, Mark lifted her in his arms. Despite her protests, she quickly wrapped her arms around his neck, laughing softly as he carried her to the ER. After a mild sprain diagnosis, he took her to his apartment and made sure she was comfortable. They spent the evening watching movies, Emma propped up with pillows while Mark fussed over her. Now, as Mark navigated the waves, these memories played in his mind, each one cutting deeper than the last. After refueling, he anchored for the night, setting up a folding chair on the deck. With a bottle of whiskey in hand, he stared out at the horizon, lost in thought. The next morning, he woke up with a pounding headache. Too hungover to sail, he decided to rest for the day. His phone buzzed nonstop until he finally picked it up. Hello? Mark, where are you? Please come home. Let's talk. It's not my home anymore, he replied coldly. Mark, please. It was just one time. It didn't mean anything. I hate being a cliché, Emma. Just answer one question. Why? I don't know. It just happened. But I love you. Can't we move past this? You broke my trust, Emma. Without trust, there's nothing left. Goodbye. Mark, wait. Her voice cracked, but he hung up before she could say more. Sitting in silence, Mark let the memories take over, replaying the early days of their relationship. He should have seen the warning signs back then. She had promised to end things with others before, but how many others had there been? One memory haunted him, seeing her with Ryan, holding hands, laughing. Hi, Emma, he said, stepping out of the shadows. Her face turned pale, guilt written all over it. Mark, this is Ryan, she said awkwardly. Nice to meet you, Ryan offered, extending his hand. Mark didn't take it. Sure. It was good seeing you, Emma, Mark said tersely before turning and walking away. Mark, wait. Emma called after him, but he kept going. Sorry, I don't have time. Ryan, confused, asked, Who was that? My boyfriend, Emma admitted. Then why are you here with me? I wanted to break up in person, not over the phone. Goodbye, Emma, Ryan said before walking off. Mark had gone to the library afterward, but couldn't focus. Giving up, he went home, where his roommate Tom greeted him. Hey, you're here. That girl you've been talking about keeps calling every 20 minutes. I don't want to talk. What should I tell her? Tell her I'm not here and to stop bothering you. Tom picked up the phone when it rang again. No, he's not here. Don't know where he is, he said before hanging up. Turning to Mark, he grinned. Let's get a drink. First 3 rounds are on me. That night, Tom listened as Mark poured his heart out. After several drinks, Mark finally calmed down, slumped in his chair, drained from sharing everything about Emma. The way they met, their early dates, and how he fell for her. A good drinking session didn't solve everything, but it helped dull the pain. After finishing his exam, Mark went home for the week to stay with his parents. His dad, who had introduced him to yachting on their 32-foot Nicholson yacht, was glad to see him. Mark loved everything about the sea. Cruising at night, dolphins chasing the boat, and the stars shining brightly over calm waters near the shore. He regretted never sharing this passion with Emma. When they docked, he was surprised to see Emma waiting. How did you find me? I didn't want you to. I looked for you. When Tom said you were gone, I saw an envelope addressed to you, and went to your parents' house. I spent the day with your mom, told her what happened. She said you'd be back today. Mark frowned. She warned you not to expect a warm welcome, didn't she? Yes. She said you don't open up much but knew something serious was wrong. She was worried because it's not like you to just drop out of school. She was right. I don't want you here. Why not, Mark? I told you I was ending things with Ryan. I said it would take time. Did you sleep with him? Mark asked, his expression cold. Why would you ask that? No, I didn't sleep with him. Not this time, she said, her voice defensive. You know I'm not a saint, but we agreed to be exclusive, and I've kept that promise. Ryan didn't get it. He left me in the restroom, and I never saw him again. You came here to prove what, exactly? That you're serious now? Mark asked, skeptical. Yes, I wanted to show you I'm serious. Seeing me with Ryan hit you hard. I get that. But it wasn't what it looked like. I understand how it hurt you, and I'm sorry. It won't happen again. If you had been honest from the start, maybe I could have gotten over it, Mark said after a long pause. But finding out like that, it made it seem like you were hiding something. I won't tolerate that. He shook his head, weighing whether his life would be better with or without her. Though things were cold for a while after that conversation, Emma kept trying, and eventually, Mark softened. Over time, their relationship began to grow again. Mark sipped warm water on the deck, lost in thought. Why didn't I see the signs? Has she been seeing others all this time? Was our marriage a lie? His mind raced as he prepared for another leg of his journey. That night, he couldn't sleep, haunted by the same questions. The next morning, he set off for Georgia, planning to make stops in Florida and finally Nassau. Meanwhile, Emma broke down to Laura, sobbing uncontrollably. I've lost him. I've lost everything. Emma, what were you thinking? You threw away a 30-year relationship for some idiot. How are you going to explain that to your sons? I can't explain it. How could I? I've barely talked to them since Mark left. He only called Luca once, and Ethan hasn't heard anything. So, to them, it looks like Mark just abandoned you for no reason. Do you really want them thinking that? You don't deserve him, Emma. You know that, right? I was good to him. I just stumbled. You don't stumble into bed with another man, Laura snapped. You didn't slip on a banana peel. You made a choice. And you made that choice in Mark's bed. Do you really think he'll ever forget that? Emma wiped her tears, guilt washing over her. Laura's words cut deep, but she knew they were true. If it had been something casual, something stupid like a fling in a car or a quick mistake, it might have been different. But you brought that guy into Mark's home, into his bed. How can you possibly explain that? You broke one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He was a coach. He gave you everything. And do you know how many women threw themselves at him? He was always polite, always said no. And you threw that away. I have to do something, Laura. I need to show him I love him. You can try, but don't expect much. You're going to have to beg, crawl, and be the best wife ever if you want even a chance. And don't forget the boys. If they blame Mark for this, it's over. You have to get him to talk. Emma buried her face in her hands. I've ruined everything. He has to talk to me. He has to. Mark was sitting on the cockpit floor, wearing worn-out shorts and a tattered t-shirt. His tan had deepened from weeks under the Caribbean sun. A pump in his hand, he worked quietly when a voice interrupted him. Hi, I'm Anna, the young woman said. Hi, Anna, Mark responded without looking up. He turned the locking ring on the pump, hoping it would loosen. Anna watched curiously. What are you doing? Fixing a pump. It's not working. Where does it go? What does it do? It pumps water into the bait well, Mark explained curtly. Anna blinked, confused. Okay, now I know even less than I did before. Her sarcastic tone made Mark glance up. She had long blonde hair, slim but athletic, and with the sun behind her, he couldn't see her eyes, just her bright smile. He smiled back instinctively. There's a tank for bait fish. This pump draws seawater into the tank, keeping it fresh and oxygenated so the bait stays alive. Anna smiled again. That's the longest conversation I've had all week. Thanks for explaining it without making me feel stupid. You're welcome. You don't talk much, do you? Not usually. Can I come aboard and take a look? Anna, can I help you with something? I'm trying to fix this pump so I can go fishing. I'm not great company right now. I'm sorry if I'm bothering you. My parents thought swimming here would help clear my head, but it's just making me think about bad things. Mark saw the flash of pain in her expression. If you want company, I'm probably not the best choice. I'm here alone. The ex stayed home, and the kids are grown. You came here alone on this boat? Yeah. I need to buy a new pump. Stop by later if you want. Can I come with you? To get the pump? Sure. I need to stop by the provision store first. Will you wait? Yeah. I just need to tell my mom. Mark watched her run toward a 60-foot sailboat nearby. She looked like she was in her early 20s. A man peered out from the cabin as she approached. Mark gave him a small wave, but the man didn't wave back. When Anna returned, Mark noticed she looked older than he initially thought, probably in her early 30s. There were faint crow's feet around her eyes and soft creases at the corners of her mouth when she smiled. Do your parents mind you coming with me? Mark asked. They're just overprotective. I didn't have the best time before we came here. Her tone was light, but Mark detected something deeper. I'm sorry, he said quietly. They walked in silence toward the marina, the sound of steel drum music growing louder. Near the marina office was a tiki bar with a sandy floor. Would you like a drink? Mark offered. That would be nice. Are you sure? Yes. I haven't talked to anyone in weeks. What would you like? A glass of white wine, she said with a grateful smile. They found a table away from the bar, where the afternoon breeze eased the heat. So, Mark, how long have you been here? What's your story? Anna asked. Mark hesitated before replying. I went through a rough divorce. My parents brought me here, hoping I'd clear my head. They rented a boat to get away from everything. Anna laughed softly, though it sounded bittersweet. A bad divorce, and now you're stuck on a boat with parents who've been happily in love forever. That sounds rough. She wiped away a tear that had escaped. Sorry, I didn't mean to unload all of that on you. I should go. Anna, please don't go. I understand more than you think, Mark said gently. She paused before settling back in her chair. I'm almost 30. My marriage ended in 15 minutes. One moment, everything seemed fine, and then it just fell apart. I left and never went back. I'm sorry to hear that, Mark said. Are you divorced now? No, we didn't go through with the process. Just separated. What about you? Have you talked to your ex? A few times, Mark admitted. Mostly me asking questions and getting no answers. It took about a week and a half to sail here, and I've been here almost another week. Anna leaned back, giving him a look filled with understanding and kindness. Do you want to talk about it? Maybe someday, but not now. When do you plan to go back? She asked. Maybe in 2 weeks, but it could be sooner. My dad's been having trouble steering, and my mom doesn't know enough to help. That must frustrate your dad. Mark checked his phone, 23 unread messages. Ignoring them, he opened his marine weather app. The wind will be strong tomorrow, but it should calm down after that. Maybe we can take the boat out then. Would your dad let me help steer? Anna laughed. He might, but let's not mention you know how to sail. He used to have a 30-foot sailboat when I was a kid, so he's proud of what he knows. Will you have lunch with us tomorrow? It would mean a lot to my dad if you helped. Mark smiled. Sure. How about we meet at noon? Thank you, Mark, she said softly. I know you're going through a lot, and here I am asking for favors. It's okay, Anna. I don't mind. The next day at noon, Mark arrived at the dock. Anna waved from their sailboat as he approached. He shook her father's hand firmly. Mark Fisher. Nice to meet you. Paul Harrison, her father replied, eyeing Mark with curiosity. You sail? Yes, sir. My dad had a 32-foot Nicholson yacht. We sailed a lot when I was growing up. This is my mom, Linda Harrison, Anna said, introducing her mother, who looked like an older version of herself. Hi, Mark. Thanks for coming, Linda said warmly. Anna mentioned you know how to sail, and Paul's been excited about getting out on the water tomorrow. We don't want to impose, but it would be a big help if you could join us. Mark found himself answering questions about sailing and his recent life. Paul and Linda had already heard about his divorce and time away from work, which caught him off guard. Still, they seemed kind, and he felt at ease. Later that afternoon, Mark lay on the bow of the boat, enjoying the breeze. Anna settled beside him, gazing at the sky. Penny for your thoughts? She asked. They're not worth a penny. I'd probably have to pay you to listen, Mark said with a small smile. Your dad seems happier than I imagined. You've done a lot for him without realizing it. He's in his element again because you gave him back his confidence. What will you do after this? She asked carefully. I think my break is over. I need to contact my office, sort things out with my kids, and figure out how to divide everything with her. Stand by. Paul called from the helm, grinning as he adjusted the sails. He's loving this, Anna said, smiling. Look at how my mom is watching him. Mark's expression darkened slightly. I thought I had everything figured out, he murmured. He adjusted the sails to keep them steady as the boat started toward the harbor. Their day of sailing was ending. He leaned back on the sailbags, already dreading what lay ahead. I get it, Anna said quietly. I went through something similar a year ago. Whatever happens, I'd like to stay in touch. Her voice wavered slightly, but she met his eyes with determination. You reminded me there are still decent people in the world, Mark said softly. If only we'd met at a different time. Anna blushed, glancing away quickly. Decent men, she corrected quietly. After docking, Mark secured the ropes and turned off the engine. That was fun, Paul. Thanks for a great day. It brought back some good memories, Mark said. Thank you, son, Paul said with a hopeful smile. Would you mind joining us again later this week? I'd love to, but I'll need to check my schedule. I'll call you. Sure. Just let us know. I know Anna will love it, Paul said. I will too, Mark added. Do you need help cleaning the boat? No, we've got it covered, Paul replied, gesturing toward Linda and Anna, who were already washing down the deck. Mark smiled, stepping off the boat and onto the dock. As he walked back toward his yacht, a wave of loneliness washed over him. Crawling aboard reminded him of how alone he really was, though. For the first time in a while, he felt a flicker of something new, maybe hope. Anger surged through Mark as he picked up his phone and turned it on for the first time in days. Ignoring the backlog of voicemails and texts, he dialed Steve's number. Holy crap, you're alive. Steve answered immediately. Mark, where are you? I'm in Nassau. No kidding? How are you holding up, buddy? I'm still pretty pissed off, Mark admitted. But I've got a job to do while I'm here licking my wounds. Yeah. Well, we've got a problem with Alexander's account. The valve and elbow keep failing. Can you design a fix? Can we move the valve or eliminate the elbow? Send me the plans, and I'll take a look. Will do. If you send me something by tomorrow, I won't feel bad about your direct deposit going through. Hold the deposit for a day or two. I need to divide things up, settle my investments first. She's been calling every day asking if I've heard from you. Can I tell her we've talked? As long as you don't tell her where I am. Let her know I won't speak to her unless she tells me the reason. I've already told her that, but it won't hurt if she hears it again. They discussed various work matters, projects, maintenance issues, and personnel problems for over an hour. When they hung up, Mark felt strange. The normalcy of the conversation made him realize how much had changed. Minutes later, his phone rang again. It was Ethan. Dad, where are you? This isn't funny. Mom is furious, calling me every day. Luke is pissed too. What happened? Ethan, I don't want to go into details. It was bad. I don't see us recovering. Mom said the cops are looking for you. What did you do? I slapped someone. Hard, a few times, but not hard enough. That doesn't sound great. When are you coming home? I don't know. I'll visit briefly once things are sorted. Where's sorted? Not in the village. I'll tell you when things are settled. Maybe we can have dinner then. Say hi to Natalie for me, and I'll call her soon. Ethan sighed. Luke is furious. He said your last conversation didn't go well. Mom just cries all the time and won't tell us anything. They'll both get over it eventually. Just hang tight, Ethan. I'll let you know when I'm back. Mark ended the call, uncorked a new bottle of whiskey, and sank into a chair. He was halfway through the bottle when Anna appeared, tugging at his arm. Come on, Mark. You need to go to bed. This isn't helping. You shouldn't be here, Anna. I'm not a good person right now. That's bullcrap. Get up, go to bed, and we'll talk in the morning. You know you're beautiful, right? Mark slurred. In your condition, everyone's beautiful, Anna teased, guiding him down the steps to the cabin. She helped him onto the bed, pulled the covers over him, and kissed his forehead. We'll talk in the morning, Mark, she whispered. watching him snore softly before leaving the boat. Mark woke up trying to count how many hangovers he'd had recently. For some reason, it seemed important. "Mark, get up. I've got eggs and bacon," Anna called from above deck. Mark stumbled up the stairs, prompting a laugh from Anna. "You're doing better than last night." "Yeah, about last night. Was I an idiot? If so, I'm sorry. You told me I was beautiful and that you loved me," she said, smirking. "If you meant it, fine. If not, yeah, you're an idiot." "Oh, crap. I mean, yeah, you're beautiful, but, Relax, Mark. I'm kidding. But I'm going to make you talk this morning. Can you dim the sun?" "It's way too bright," Mark groaned, covering his face. "It's good for you. Vitamin D and all that. Now, what's going on? Tell me what's eating you up inside." "You really want to hear my crappy story?" Mark asked, raising an eyebrow. "Yes. Keeping it bottled up isn't healthy." Mark sighed heavily. "I caught her cheating with her boss." "You say caught. What do you mean? Heard her talking? Saw them somewhere?" "No. I walked in on them. It's a sight I can't forget." "Oh, crap. What did you do?" "I punched him 3 times, as hard as I could. Then I looked at her and walked out. And since then, a couple of calls on my way here. I told her I wouldn't talk to her again unless she gave me a reason. She hasn't, so I haven't spoken to her." "You look like you're in pain, Mark. Can't stop thinking about it, can you?" Anna asked gently. "You drink yourself into oblivion every night." "I loved her, Anna. Loved her with all my soul. I cherished her." "You're using the past tense. No chance of reconciliation?" "None. We had an issue early on, and I dealt with it. But this, I'll never forget that look on her face. It makes me doubt myself. Was I not good enough? Bad in bed? Is he better?" Anna laughed lightly. "Men worry too much about that stuff. For most women, it's emotional. The mind is the biggest erogenous zone." "Then I must be lacking in something," Mark muttered. "He was just a bald little prick. I'm not handsome, but he wasn't any better." "Don't underestimate yourself, Mark." She used to tell me that too. Didn't help much. I had a rule in college. Never date someone more than 2 levels above you. The one below always suffers. I guess I was the bottom feeder. She must have been stunning, but don't forget, she's also a cheater, Anna said gently. "Are you sure it's over?" "Absolutely. I don't know what to say. You don't want to hear cliches about how things will get better, or that there are more fish in the sea. I'm just sorry you're going through this." "Thanks, Anna," Mark said quietly, a tear rolling down his cheek. Anna felt a sudden urge to comfort him. "Mark, when you're back on your feet, would you find me? I wouldn't mind being your friend. Not now, but someday." "Anna, I have to go back to my rule. You're out of my league. Besides, I'm heading home next week, and you'll be gone." "It's okay, Mark," Anna said softly. "I'll see you again," Anna said softly. "I'm just asking for friendship." Mark smiled. "I'd like that. I hope we'll see each other again someday." On the flight from Miami to BWI, Mark stared out the window, lost in thought. As the plane lifted off, he caught a glimpse of Anna's boat and felt a wave of melancholy. Memories of sailing with a loving family flashed through his mind, quickly replaced by anger toward Emma. When he stepped off the plane, he was surprised to find Emma waiting. She looked thinner, with dark bags under her eyes, but still beautiful. "What are you doing here?" Mark asked coldly. "Steve told me when you were arriving. Please don't be mad at him." She looked desperate. "Mark, I'm so sorry. Please, let me explain." "I'm not interested unless you can tell me why. Can you?" I don't know, Mark," she admitted tearfully. "I've been asking myself that same question. Please, I love you. Only you." Tears streamed down her face. "Too many words, Emma. I've been traveling all day, and I'm tired. I need to check into a hotel." "Mark, please forgive me. Can't we forget this? Come home." "You knew the rules, Emma. We were a team, no rivalry. I thought it meant till death do us part, but you eliminated that. We're done." Emma stood frozen, watching him walk away, get into a cab, and disappear. "Mark!" Steve exclaimed when Mark walked into the office the next morning. "Good to see you too, Steve," Mark said, shaking his hand. The clients have been asking for you. They want your help with the launch. Can you head to St. Louis for a week or two? I need to see a lawyer first. I've got to sort out my finances and figure out my next steps. Are you okay? Steve asked, concerned. My head's clear, but emotionally, I feel dead. I don't know if I'll ever get over this. Mark picked up a framed photo of Emma from his desk, stared at it for a moment, then tossed it in the trash. Everything reminds me of her. Maybe it's time for us to go our separate ways. Come on, Mark. You're the heart of this place, Steve said. Let's talk it over at lunch once you're settled. Steve, don't try to convince me to bring that cheating strumpet back. No way. I'm talking about work, not her. Steve laughed as he left. Mark sighed. When I get divorced, I want to make sure she doesn't get a share of the business. I'll meet with a lawyer tomorrow. I might even turn myself in at the police station. You'll fire me for misconduct, and I'll become a consultant afterward, so she can only touch my consulting fees. You think he'll press charges? I hope so. We'll negotiate. I'll countersue for alienation of affection and whatever else we can. Let's see what happens. I hate this, Mark. We built this place together. It'll work out. Things will settle into a new normal. Mark met with Ryan, an old friend and lawyer. Ryan, I need help. I'm dealing with personal, family, criminal, and business issues. What's going on? Ryan asked, concerned. A month ago, I caught Emma with her boss. In your house? In my bed, Mark said bitterly. Oh crap. What did you do? Knocked him out and left. Then I went to Nassau for a month. Just got back yesterday. Now, I want a divorce and need help dealing with the police. I think I'm wanted for assault. Let me make a few calls, Ryan said. Wait outside, and I'll figure out a strategy. We might be able to negotiate if charges haven't been filed yet. Also, you'll need to be fired for misconduct to protect your share of the business from her. Mark nodded. I didn't take any pictures, so it's my word against theirs. Not sure how strong an infidelity case is without proof. Let's get Mary and George involved for now. Don't worry about fees. We'll sort it out later. The arraignment was humiliating. Mark appeared before the judge via video link, with George by his side. Mr. Fisher, it says here you assaulted Mr. Daniel Simmons, striking him several times. How do you plead? Guilty. But I didn't punch him in the head, just the face. 3 times. You admit to striking him? Yes, Your Honor, Mark said. But there were extenuating circumstances. Please explain, the judge prompted. George intervened. Your Honor, the incident occurred in flagrante delicto. The judge's lips twitched into a faint smile. I see. So, Mr. Fisher, you caught them in the act and decided to punch him? Yes, Your Honor. My arm hurt after 3 punches, so I figured a 4th wasn't necessary. The state appreciates your restraint, Mr. Fisher, the judge said dryly. You'll be back in court in 2 weeks. Is that satisfactory, Mr. Stone? Yes, Your Honor, George replied. Mr. Fisher, be prepared. Mr. Simmons is campaigning for state's attorney and isn't happy about his emergency care and dental costs. If he's upset, so is the district attorney. Don't punch anyone else, Mr. Fisher. Yes, Your Honor. You are released on your own recognizance. Don't leave the state, and Mr. Stone, ensure your client appears at the appointed time. Yes, Your Honor. He'll be there. As they left the courtroom, George muttered, My God, did you see that? She smiled. I've never seen that judge smile before. She seemed nice to me, Mark said. She's not known for being nice. Her nickname is Hung Anderson. This is going to be interesting. The next day, Mark received termination papers via courier, stating the partnership was dissolved on moral grounds due to his arrest and pending charges. He took the letter to Ryan's office, tossed it onto the desk, and sighed heavily. Let's get this over with. Now there was nothing left for Mark to do but wait. His yacht was still in Nassau, he couldn't leave the state, and he was officially unemployed. Renting a car, he drove to the bay, sat on the shore, and watched the water until darkness fell. The next morning, as he sat in his hotel room at 11 a.m., the phone rang. Hello? Mark? Please, don't do this. Emma's voice trembled. Emma, I told you. I'm not talking to you unless you give me a reason. I didn't mean for it to happen. We were working, had a drink, went dancing, and then it just happened. Mark slammed his hand on the table. Do you know how much this hurts? You ripped my heart out, Emma. I thought we'd grow old together, play with grandkids. Now it's all gone. Please, Mark. Let me explain. Let me show you I love you. Meet me, just once. Fine. One meeting. Then you sign the divorce papers, and we're done. Oh my God, Mark. How did you lose your company? You were partners. Moral clause. One of us gets full control if the other is accused of a crime. I have court next week. I won't let him get away with this. You don't have a choice. Are you still working with him? Her evasiveness didn't go unnoticed. No, please, let's meet. Just lunch. We can talk in public. Tomorrow. DeLuigi's in Little Italy. Noon. Okay, Mark. Thank you. I love you. Don't say that. Don't call me that again. You've lost the right. At DeLuigi's the next day, Mark sat against the wall, waiting. When Emma walked in, she looked thinner, worn out, but still beautiful. Her red eyes betrayed countless sleepless nights. Emma, Mark said flatly, not bothering to stand. No hug? She asked with a strained smile. No. You're so cold, Mark. We spent 30 years together. You had fun with another man in my bed. How many times? How long? It was only once, Mark. I swear. You expect me to believe that? I don't. It was a mistake. It just happened. You make it sound like you slipped on a banana peel, Mark said bitterly. Isn't that what Laura said? I'm so sorry, Emma whispered. I can't believe you lost your company. Are you going to fight it? No, but I'm suing him for alienation of affection and your firm for ignoring its own morals clause. Mark, you're just trying to hurt me. You deserve it. Say whatever you want. I'll listen. But after this, we're done. Please, let me show you I love you. Remember Ryan in college? That was your only chance. You won't get another. I wasn't thinking, Mark. I was drunk. I didn't mean it. You weren't thinking about me then, were you? It hurts, doesn't it? Imagine the boys calling, asking what I did wrong. What did you tell them? I didn't. I just asked where you were. Emma's words came between sobs. You need to take responsibility. Until you do, nothing will change. I don't know if I'll ever get over this, Emma. I told you in college, never date someone out of your league. You're a 10. I'm a 5. I'm done. If I don't go to jail in the next 2 weeks, I'm gone. Where did you go, Mark? I know you were on the boat. I found your truck. I brought it home. Give it to Ethan. He hasn't blamed me for this mess. You think I have a girlfriend? Emma's face went pale, tears streaming down. Oh God, no. I'm so sorry. What have I done? You ruined this family, Emma. I don't believe you anymore. It wasn't just the act. It was where you did it. In my bed, the most vulnerable act you can share, and you shared it with him. I'm sorry, Mark. I didn't mean. I can't deal with this anymore. Don't call or write. Deal with the boys. If they call, I'll know you've taken responsibility. If I end up in jail, you won't be my only call. Mark stood, threw some money on the table, and walked out. Emma reached for him, but he brushed her off and kept walking. At the courthouse, Mark stood before the judge, George at his side. Mr. Fisher, the judge began, you've taken responsibility for your actions. You've been driving a little fast, but otherwise, you haven't broken any laws. Do you have anything to say regarding your punishment? Your Honor, I'm sorry my actions brought us here. Sorry for wasting the court's time. I wish I could say I wouldn't do it again, but if I caught my wife... Mark glanced at George, who whispered something. In flagrante delicto, I'd be inclined to punch him again. I'll try to restrain myself. Mr. Fisher, are you currently employed? I was fired due to a morals clause. I'd like to return to work, but it depends on today. The court believes you made a poor decision under extreme stress. I'm treating this as a PBJ. Do you know what that means? No, Your Honor. It means probation before judgment. You're neither guilty nor innocent. You'll be on probation for 5 years, and if you commit another crime in that time, you'll serve time for both offenses. Consider it double or nothing. Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. You are released on your own recognizance. Mr. Stone, ensure your client is present at future court dates. Yes, Your Honor. As they left the courtroom, George muttered, My God, did you see that? She smiled. I've never seen that judge smile before. She seemed nice enough to me, Mark replied. She's not known for being nice. Her nickname is Hung Anderson. This'll be interesting. The next day, Mark received termination papers from his company, citing moral grounds due to his arrest. He took the letter to Ryan's office and tossed it onto the desk. Let's get this over with. Can you behave yourself? The judge asked, raising an eyebrow. Yes, Your Honor. I'll do my best. Good. Your attorney will have the paperwork for you to sign. You're free to go. Thank you, Your Honor. Mark turned to leave, but glanced back briefly, surprised to see the judge smile at him before he exited the room. Later, Mark sat at the table with Steve and the lawyers. PBJ for assault. That's rare, Steve said, shaking his head in disbelief. I've never seen her go that easy on anyone before. How does this affect our plan? Mark asked. How do we protect the business from Emma? Just come back to work, Mark. If you don't, we might not have a business left to protect. I'll keep working for now, Mark said. Ryan, what if I return as an employee, not as a partner? Once this blows over, Steve can promote me back. That could work, Ryan agreed. I'll review the partnership agreements to see what applies under PBJ. You're not convicted, but we need to play by the rules. Has she signed the divorce papers yet? Mark asked. No, not yet. Fine. I'm heading back to Nassau. I'll work remotely and figure out how to get her to sign. I might go to St. Louis next week. You sure there's no way back for you two? Steve asked hesitantly. No, I'm done. I just want to move on with my life. As Mark walked down the pier toward the Down Deep, he noticed the empty spot where Anna's boat had been. A wave of melancholy washed over him as he realized she was gone. He cherished the memories of their time together and the boat ride with her parents. Anna had reminded him that good, loyal women still existed. Meanwhile, Emma sat at the restaurant, watching Mark leave. A heavy weight pressed on her chest as she struggled to breathe. Her hands shook as she fought back tears. She longed to hold him, to fix things as she had in the past, but she knew this time it was truly over. In her mind, she kissed Mark one last time, feeling his warmth as tears streamed from beneath her sunglasses. Mom, really? Lucas said, his voice filled with frustration. You got caught in Dad's bed with another guy? Do you even know where he is? No, Emma admitted. I tried calling, but he won't answer. Ethan knows, but he won't tell me. I'm so mad at you. I love you, but I can't believe you did this to Dad. I need to call him. I hope he picks up. Ethan answered the next call. Ethan, please, make him talk to me. Give me another chance. Are you still working with that guy? Ethan asked bluntly. Yes. I have bills to pay, a mortgage. Find another job, Mom. Unless this guy means nothing to you, you're choosing him over the family. And if you choose him, the family will leave you. Why are you being so rude, Ethan? I'm not the one who screwed up. You are. Emma hung up, her hands trembling as she sat at the kitchen table, head buried in her hands. She remained there until dark, then moved to the bedroom, lying on the bed in a daze. It was just one mistake, she thought to herself as tears fell. She hummed the tune of a cheater's song stuck in her head, unable to comprehend why everyone was so angry. Meanwhile, a named storm was forming in the Atlantic, the fifth of the season. It was expected to reach hurricane strength by the time it hit the Virgin Islands, with potential to impact Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and possibly the Carolinas later in the week. Residents were warned to prepare for winds up to 140 miles per hour and storm surges between 4 and 7 feet. Mark had 2 days to prepare the Down Deep for the approaching storm. Many boats had already left for storage in the U.S., but he decided to stay and tie down the remaining boats. He worked steadily, ensuring the ropes were secure yet loose enough to allow movement during the storm. Hey, what's up? A marina worker called out, trying to secure the boats before the storm. I need more and longer ropes. A dinghy would help too. Why a dinghy? I want to stretch the ropes across to keep the boats off the dock and run a fishing line to stabilize them. I'll get more rope. What's your name? Mark. Yours? Carlos. He smiled. I think that's Spanish for Mark, right? Mark chuckled. Yeah, I think you're right. They shook hands, and Carlos returned with 5 more men and a wheelbarrow full of ropes. Together, they spent the rest of the day tying down the boats. The sky remained clear, and the sound of waves echoed from the shore as they worked. Mark, where will you stay during the storm? Carlos asked. I'm hoping to get a room at a nearby resort. You'll stay with me and my family, Carlos insisted. It's safe. We've been through many hurricanes without injury. It's not big or fancy, but it's fine. Thank you, Carlos, but I don't want to inconvenience your family. You won't bother us, Carlos said with a crooked smile. You'll stay with us. Mark nodded, grateful. Okay, let's get the house ready. Carlos's house was a simple cinder block structure with a tin roof, perched on a hill. The location gave Mark a sense of comfort. Inside, it was dark but tidy, with a bead curtain separating the main room from the rest of the house. As soon as they entered, Mark heard a woman's angry voice from behind the curtain. Carlos rolled his eyes and walked through, leaving Mark standing awkwardly in the main room. After a heated conversation that gradually quieted, Carlos returned, accompanied by a beautiful woman in her 30s. She had long dark hair, soft green eyes, and a curvy figure. She extended her hand. I'm Isabel, she said, her voice warm but reserved. Mark shook her hand, noticing her soft yet calloused fingers. Mark, thank you for letting me stay here. Isabel offered a faint smile. We're happy to have you. Let's get ready. The storm's coming. You're Carlos's new friend? Hermosa asked in broken English, her strong Spanish accent making her words soft but clear. Yes, ma'am. I'm here to help. You staying for the storm? Yes, if you don't mind. Okay. You work? I cook, she said simply before disappearing back inside. Mark followed Carlos outside, where they secured the windows using corrugated tin. Neighbors soon joined in, moving from house to house as the sky darkened. Mark stayed busy, focused on preparing the boats and ensuring they had the best chance to survive the storm. By evening, back at Carlos's house, they settled into canvas chairs on the porch. Hermosa appeared silently, handing cold beers to Carlos and Mark before retreating inside. Is she your wife? Mark asked. Carlos laughed loudly. No, Mark. My wife passed away. Hermosa is my sister-in-law. She's beautiful, isn't she? Yes, she is, Mark admitted, glancing at her. Other men soon joined them on the porch, accepting beers from Hermosa, who smiled for the first time in Mark's presence. It was a striking, beautiful smile. The conversation drifted into Spanish, and though Mark only understood a few phrases, he enjoyed their company as the wind picked up and the storm drew closer. When the rain began, the men thanked Mark for his help and left. One hesitated, then shook Mark's hand. Thank you for helping us today. You're a friend, aren't you? Yes, we are friends, Mark replied warmly. The storm wasn't as strong as predicted, but it still packed a punch. The power went out as Mark dozed off on the couch. In the middle of the night, Hermosa appeared, motioning for him to move over. Without a word, she sat beside him. As the storm raged outside, Mark put his arm around her, and she leaned in, eventually falling asleep. Mark drifted off too. When he woke, Hermosa was looking at him, her expression unreadable. She was breathtakingly beautiful in the morning light. Just then, Carlos emerged, glanced at them, and shrugged. ¿Qué pasa aquí? He asked playfully. Hermosa launched into a rapid explanation in Spanish, and Carlos grinned. She said you helped her through the storm, that she was scared and you held her. Also said you were a perfect gentleman. But, Carlos added with a wink, I'm not sure if she's happy about that or disappointed. Women, you can't understand them, can you? No, I can't, Mark replied with a grin. Carlos, are you ready to head to the wharf? I need to check on Down Deep. Hermosa began making breakfast as Mark and Carlos took their seats on the porch, watching the neighborhood come back to life. Fallen branches were being cleared, and people were cleaning up their yards. Soon, Hermosa brought out plates of scrambled eggs with spicy salsa and seasoned beef. It was the most delicious meal Mark had eaten in a long time. After breakfast, Mark and Carlos loaded fallen palm branches into Carlos's old Toyota pickup. As Mark shook Hermosa's hand to say goodbye, she surprised him by pulling him into a hug and saying, "Thank you," in her soft but strong Spanish accent. Mark bowed his head slightly, got into the truck, and pressed himself against the door, feeling an unexpected rush of emotion. The drive to the marina was quick, Carlos swerving around debris along the way. At the marina, they found one boat partially flooded and another slightly damaged, but Down Deep was intact. "Carlos, what about the sunken boat? Are you helping with that?" "Of course. Let's see what we can do," Carlos said. With help from the crew, they retrieved equipment from the shed. Mark helped secure airbags under the sunken boat, and with an old compressor, they began raising it. By nightfall, the marina was in good shape. "Thank you, Mark," Carlos said, pulling him into a grateful hug. "Are you coming with me?" Mark asked. "Thanks, but I'll stay with Down Deep. Please thank Hermosa for everything." Mark returned to the yacht, started the generator, and charged his phone. He found several messages from Ethan, 2 from Luca, and 1 from Emma. There was also a message from an unfamiliar number. "Mark, I heard about the storm and wanted to make sure you and Down Deep are okay. I'd love to hear back from you. Anna." He called Ethan first, assuring him he was fine. Then he called Luca. "Hi, Dad. Ethan was worried about you, and I'm sorry. Mom told me what happened, and I shouldn't have blamed you." "It's okay, Luke. I told you not to take sides until you knew the full story." "I know, Dad. Can you forgive her? For the family's sake?" "Luke, I can't. She destroyed my trust. I can't go through that again." Meanwhile, Emma sat on the couch with Laura, worrying aloud. "Oh my God, Laura. He's out there on the boat. I hope he's okay." "Emma, he knows what he's doing. If anyone can handle this, it's Mark. But what are you going to do?" Before Emma could answer, there was a knock at the door. She opened it to find a process server standing there. "Are you Margaret Fisher?"
Yes.
"May I see some ID?" "Oh my God. Am I being served?" Emma whispered, her voice breaking. "You've been served," the man said, handing her the envelope. Emma took it, sank onto the couch, and whispered, "No, no, no. I'm so sorry. It was just one time. It didn't mean anything." "Emma," Laura said firmly, "it meant something to Mark." 2 days later, Mark was on the deck of Down Deep, fixing the pump when he heard a familiar voice. "What are you doing?" Anna asked, standing there in a pink and white striped shirt. "Anna, what are you doing here?" Mark walked to the side of the boat, surprised but happy to see her. "I heard about the storm and wrote you, but didn't get a reply. May I come aboard?" "Of course. Let me get a chair. Where are you staying?" "I'm not sure yet. I came straight from the airport. I know it was stupid, but I couldn't bear the thought of you needing help." A tear rolled down her cheek. Mark leaned over, kissed the top of her head, and said, "Let's figure something out. Carlos will help us." Over the next week, Mark and Anna spent time together, fishing, sailing, relaxing on the beach, and getting to know each other better. When it was time for Mark to leave for St. Louis, they flew to the mainland together. In the following months, Mark rented a house on the island and set up an office. He arranged with Steve to work remotely and return to the mainland occasionally for client visits. Steve promoted Mark to shareholder, and they opened a new office with a team of engineers focused on island projects. Emma agreed to the divorce terms. She kept the house, and they split the liquid assets equally. She also sued her law firm for maltreatment, leading to Greg's dismissal. Struggling to find work, he eventually left the area. His lawsuit against Mark was dismissed, and Mark received a settlement, which he set aside for future grandchildren. One sunny afternoon, Anna and Emma finally met when Ethan and Natalie, along with Luke and Rachel, visited. Mark sat on the porch of his rented bungalow, rocking his first grandchild in a sturdy chair. Emma stood at the foot of the stairs, watching quietly. "Mark, I thought we were going to do this together," she said softly. "I'm so sorry. It didn't mean anything." "Emma, it meant everything to me. It showed that what we shared didn't matter to you. It destroyed my trust and broke my heart. I had to move on." "Hey, baby," Anna said, stepping outside with a tray of iced tea. She looked at Emma, then back at Mark, before offering a warm smile. "Hi, you're so beautiful, just like Mark said." I'm Anna. Emma's shoulders slumped, a tear rolling down her cheek. Anna extended her hand. I hope we can be friends. Emma hesitated, then took Anna's hand. Hi, Anna. I hope so too. Take good care of him. He deserves it. You're a very lucky woman.